Special here, and he is not here just yet, but he'll be here in a bit. So today I'm going to be making my comprehensive Amalg basics while also including strategies to go ahead and climb this boss, as this boss is one of the harder ones, but the person I have is very special today, and they have soloed Amalgamation 15 on their own. And I want you to think about how crazy that is, because most people who can be watching this have played this before and have done this boss before. So a lot of you are going to understand that this boss is not easy. And this boss, in no shape or form, is anything easy to solo. Sure, Insane 1's easy, and some people even said Insane 10 is easy. I personally don't think it is. I have tried to even do like 5, and this boss is pretty ridiculous. So I have the absolute master with me, and I will let him introduce himself in the next clip, and I will see you guys then. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into the part that actually matters, which isn't the crystals. It's actually just the basic mechanics of this boss. So this boss has three mechanics that really matter, and then we'll quickly go over those with you. So one of the main ones that you need to keep note of is these 3 pools on this side and the 3 pools over there on that side right there. So what each one of these do is these called purge pools. So the boss's special unique mechanic is venom. Every time he hits you, it increases your venom by 5%. And every, I think it's 4 seconds, you take a tick of venom damage, which is equal to the amount of venom you have. I don't actually have a chart for how each tick increase of venom increases damage. I can't really tell you that. So, a lot of people will purge at 50%, which is what I do, is what I personally recommend. Purging at 50% is probably the best way to handle that. So one of these pools will turn into green glass panes with glowstone under it. Step on it. I think you have to sit on it for like half a second, and then it'll purge all your venom. So the way that you can get venom stacked onto you is from the boss hitting you, minions hitting you, or spit pools, which is another mechanic, where the boss will shoot 2 spit pools. I think it's 1 on normal. That will go to the 2 furthest people away, I believe. And it just does a lot of damage, stacks up venom really quickly. If you stand in the pools, you'll definitely die. The pools kind of suck. So, yeah, don't step in them. Other than that, we have the tether, which targets the second closest person to the boss that isn't aggro. So whoever the closest person is to the boss that is not aggro to the boss will get something called tether. Tether makes it to where if you hit the boss, you heal it, which is a big no-no. You don't want to be healing the boss. You want this fight to be over as quickly as possible. So for tether, just run away. Go 15 blocks away as quickly as you can to deactivate tether. Other than that, the boss is actually really simple. Just follow the crystal guide, and this boss will be pretty easy. So the only suggestions that I've gotten from other people is from Spartan, which is currently the only person in the game to have soloed Insane 15. I want you to think about that. Insane 15. Alrighty, guys. So we are currently back from the intro, and the guest that I had will not be speaking. Instead, I have text that I will be popping up on the screen at some point here to talk about what their strats are. But first, we're going to start with something a little different. So each one of these crystals determines a certain different type of phase that the boss will go through, and these are triggered. You have to start by killing one of them, and then killing one of those will immediately proceed into the boss copying the stats that correlate with that crystal. So you got red, blue, yellow, and green, each one doing its own respective thing. And a lot of people follow this very specific order, like such as speedrunners will start with yellow, 9 out of 10 runs will start with red. Each person has their own way of doing this, which is what's so unique about this boss. You can choose to do your least favorite crystal first, or you can choose to do your least favorite last. It really all depends, but you also have to be careful how you do this, because after you kill the 4th crystal and do the last 10,000 damage to the boss, you then have to kill the crystals in reverse order. So if you choose to save your least favorite for last, you'll end up killing it first in the final phase, which makes it a little easier because you don't have to deal with it. But if you end up killing that one first, then you have to kill it last in the final phase, making the final phase a lot harder for you, especially since you can't do it, and it's harder for you. So the general way that people do the crystal order is red, yellow, blue, and then green. And then I will describe to you what each one of these do. So if we're following the standard pattern, red is the explosive crystal. So breaking the red crystal causes the boss to gain explosive abilities. So whenever he hits you, he'll do a little bit of explosion damage, but when he hits you as the aggro, it will cause an explosive that hits everybody in a certain proximity. I can't tell you exactly what the block radius is. It seems to be very spotty. Sometimes it hits you from like 10 blocks away, sometimes it's like 5. It's weird. But if the aggro gets hit, everybody else gets hit. So it's kind of the aggro's job to not get hit in a red phase. But red phase's special perk is that every 30 seconds or so, it'll spawn a bomb. And this bomb does quite a bit of damage. And there's a couple ways you can deal with it. One of them is as the aggro to go pick up the bomb and run into the boss. And it'll cause it to explode, doing a little bit of damage to the boss. So that's one way to deal with it. Another way is for you to personally go to the bomb, pick it up, right as it's about to blow up, either dodge or use Fortify, which are 2 rage abilities. Dodge will completely mitigate the damage, Fort will make you take substantially less, and nobody else will take damage, because if you let that bomb sit, everybody takes damage. Everybody. So you could end up killing some of your DPSs, maybe your mob. You could end up killing somebody by not taking that bomb. So red is a little bit of a tricky one, but it's not something too complicated. So then after completing red, most people would go to yellow, which yellow is the minion crystal, which buffs all minion stats, including damage, health, and speed by 20%. So it's probably one of the easier ones on just regular like Ins 1, making it, pretty free. So it's pretty forgiving, to be honest. The higher you go, though, it's one of the worst ones because of its special trait. Its special trait spawns a Mender, which the Mender is an absolute abomination to this world. He heals the boss. He does more damage than the boss, and his health is pretty low. So you can kill him pretty quickly. I think it's like 3 pillars, maybe 2. You can combo him, whatever works for you. You got to kill him quick because he does heal the boss. So you want him gone. But that's it. It just buffs minions and spawns Mender. So yellow is probably one of the easier ones for when you just insane one. It's like one of the freer ones. So is red. Blue is like the next one you would do, which is the defensive one. Blue gives the boss defensive perks. So he has a counter now. So when you're hitting him, sometimes he has a chance to send you flying backwards as a counter. Does damage. He has, I think, a little more defense, I think. I'm not actually sure on that one. That's something I wouldn't quote on, but it feels like he's a little tankier, but I don't think it actually does anything like that. But for sure, he does have a counter where he knocks you back. And Blue's special ability is it gives him a shield that you can damage to make it despawn faster, but it reflects the damage back to you while you're hitting it. So the best way to deal with that shield is to either fortify and just combo or pillar spam, or ignore it. I don't recommend ignoring it personally because you're just making the boss fight longer. So I definitely recommend just fortifying and beating the crap out of it to just get that out of the way, because it's aggravating. So then you'll finish blue, and then you'll move on to green. And green is increased venom. So mobs, the boss, and even like the pools on the ground, everything that hits you increases your venom by more. So yeah, instead of being 5% venom per hit, it goes up to a whopping 9% per hit. And the special effect of green is actually it's called infection. It's terrible. You get infection, it does damage to you that ramps up over 10 ticks. So you take 10 ticks of this, which actually turns out to be 90% venom, by the way. So yeah, you can get insta-killed by this quite frequently, actually. So there's two ways to deal with it. Fortify and jump between pools to purge it. Those are some of the few ways to do it, some of the few ways to handle it. Then the other way, which from what I've heard is what a lot of people do on their higher solos, which is to switch to an axe and deflect, and also fortify. That's one of the ways to deal with it. So, we're in the closure of this video. So, there's just a few last things to discuss, which are strats for this boss. So, Spartan Xbox, which is who my guest of honor was, and probably the best Amalgam player out there, gave me a few words of wisdom for this boss. So before I go into his strats, I'm going to talk about my strats. So for my solo for this boss, I did what we would call a very major skill issue. So for me, I didn't use Wand for the entire fight. I did use Wand, I just did not use it for the entire fight because I feel like it just gets too icky. So my strat for this boss was in fact to use a sword and a wand. So I mostly sworded the boss and wanded when minions got too much. This is the slower way, of course, because it's very hard to prove this works. So the main strat for this boss is definitely wand. And what you're going to do is you're going to stand closer to one of the pools like this, and you're just going to arcane, and you're just going to pillar spam the boss like this, and he's going to shoot you. Of course, you're going to take knockback, and you're just going to keep moving forward and making sure you're shooting him. Now remember, there is something I forgot to mention about one of this boss's mechanics. He has an enrage feature where the longer you're not personally in this little darker ring right here, the angrier the boss will get, and he'll ramp up and start doing more damage to a point where he, yes, will literally one-tap you, and he starts shooting faster as well. So the only way to reset this rage is to come to the middle and let him melee you, because sometimes if you don't let him melee you, the ramp damage doesn't drop for some reason. So I always let him melee me. Always let him melee you, and then you'll just come back here and you'll stand near your pool again and you'll just pillar spam. So I found the easiest way to do this is to pillar spam, and then after arcane runs out, run to mid to reset the rage. That seems to be the easiest way to do it, but you could find your own way to do this, of course. You can also aggro with a whip, where you'll just stay in this ring and you'll basically back up in a circle and you'll just keep whipping him. Keep basicking. And if he gets too close, chain KB and go from there. Makes it very simple. So unfortunately, I didn't record any gameplay for this video, as Amalg doesn't really need a gameplay video because he's actually not one of the most complicated bosses. He's pretty simple, especially when it's all spilled out like this for you. You know, he's not the hardest thing in the world. I already done explained all the crystals. So what we're going to do is we're going to get into Spartan strat, which he luckily laid out for me very precisely here. And he stated that he uses full power armor with lifesteal, which is what I do. As you can see, the lifesteal 2.4, which is max. And for weapons, he uses wand with the pillar attached, of course. And his rage abilities are fortify and vacuum. Obviously for tanking when you're getting low and you need to eat, and vacuum to get all the minions and the boss all in one spot, so those pillars are getting the maximum amount of damage you can deal on a very large group of enemies. For for his boot mods, these thingies right here, he was using wand ability power, which you can see right there, and he was using rage gain, so you can get more rage to vacuum more or fort more. Or if you feel like you're taking too much damage and you need to be a little bit tankier, he recommends using armor in boss fights and more rage gain, as it is safer and provides you with that additional rage as well for more fortifying. So I will post that on the screen so you guys can see it as well. And other than that, Amalg is a very simple boss, and I feel like once you're in like max T5 with like T4 lifesteal, you should very well be able to solo up to hard for this boss. Insane's a little more difficult because the boss does more damage, minions are a little stronger. But other than that, it's a pretty easy boss. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. And if there's anything I forgot to mention, please feel free to say it in the comments or message me directly, letting me know that there's something that I have to fix and update or let you guys know. But other than that, I really appreciate you guys, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take it easy now. To Spartan Xbox for providing me whatever information he had. It is a huge help. And like I said, if there's anything else you guys need to know, message him directly. Or message me, and if there's anything I forget, please let me know. Once again, though, huge shout out to Spart, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.